Story 1. AITA for telling my sister I won't babysit her kids anymore because she doesn't pay me or even say thank you. I, 31M, have been helping my sister, 34F, with babysitting her 2 kids, 6F and 3M, for the past 2 years. It started during the pandemic when she and her husband needed help balancing work from home and childcare, and I was happy to step in. I didn't expect any payment at first because, well, family. But now things are back to normal. She's back at work full time, and I'm also busy with my job and personal life. Despite this, she's still asking me to babysit at least once a week, sometimes more. The issue is, she never offers to pay me or even says a simple, thank you. It's just expected that I'll do it. Last week, I finally told her I can't keep doing this for free, and if she wants me to babysit, she either needs to pay me or at least express some gratitude. She got really upset, saying I was being selfish and that family should help each other out without expecting anything in return. I get that family helps family, but I feel taken advantage of. I'm not asking for much, just a token of appreciation or even an occasional break. Now she's not speaking to me, and our parents are saying I should apologize to keep the peace. AITA for setting boundaries with my sister and telling her I won't babysit unless she acknowledges my effort. Best comments. 1. I think it is simply human nature to want to be appreciated, a form of acceptance and belonging. It can certainly brighten someone's day. I've read accounts of people who worked very hard, tried their best, and either quit or were about to quit a well-paying job they enjoyed simply because they felt like no one cared about their work. The about to quit stories end with some variety of, but then they get a wonderful thank you gift or email telling them about how they were always so appreciated, sometimes even over others in their same role that didn't work as hard, this whole time for all their efforts and that it really helped others at the company. One where the about to quit person emailed back to say just how very much it meant to know they were appreciated, as they were literally about to turn in their 2-week notice that now had tears all over it. Said person shredded the notice and kept happily serving their vital role for years to come, and everyone involved made sure to say thank you more often to everyone around them. We're social animals, we want to know we're making meaningful contributions, that someone cares, that what we do is useful and worth our time. Just like Private, the penguin, from the Madagascar movies. 2. I have worked in small offices all my life. I quickly realized the person you want to be nice to is the admin woman, what used to be called the office secretary, the one who does the mail and the phones and the registry and the lunchroom dishwasher and the coffee maker and the flower pots. Usually an older lady in her 60s, a bit annoyed with the world, but nice enough if you get on her good side. If you don't, however, she can make your life so much more difficult. I have seen this in different offices for 25 years now. Always put your own coffee cup in the office dishwasher. Let her see that you also put in the one someone left at the sink. Compliment the cookies she brings. Etc. Story 2. AITA for telling my sister that her new boyfriend can't bring his child to my wedding. Me, F33, is getting married soon, November 2024, which has been planned for the last 2 years. My sister, F36, has just split with her husband and started a new relationship with one of her colleagues, we will call him Brandon, who I have briefly met a couple times before but don't know very well. He's nice enough but my FH has never met him and like I say I don't really know him myself. My sister mentioned to Brandon that she is my maid of honor and that I will be getting married in November within the first week of their new relationship. Before my sister and her husband, let's call him Reese, split they were both invited to the wedding, as they'd been married for 15 years so Reese was a big part of the family. Brandon automatically assumed he was invited to the wedding in Reese's place, which I didn't like but sort of accepted that she'd won A+1, and Reese wouldn't want to come now anyway given the situation, so I let it go. She then informs me that Brandon has told his daughter Kelly, F10, who he co-parents with his ex that they're both coming to my wedding so Kelly is really excited. I reminded my sister that we are having a child-free wedding which was communicated to everyone who was invited to attend, as we ourselves don't have children, don't want children and so don't want children at our wedding which all our family and friends have been fine with. I've met Kelly, and she is unfortunately a complete brat, and definitely not a child we would want at our wedding regardless of if we're having a child-free wedding or not. My sister thought our refusal was down to the cost of adding her as a guest when we've already reached maximum numbers, so initially offered to pay for her place. I told her it's not about the money but because firstly I don't like Kelly and secondly Brandon overstepped by assuming his child could come without even trying to talk to myself and my FH first. I also calmly told her that she knew we were having a child-free wedding and should have told him straight away to avoid this happening. As it's also not fair to our other friends and family members who have arranged childcare for their own children to respect our wishes. She's now calling me an because it's going to make things difficult for her when she tells him that he can't bring Kelly as she's excited about going to a wedding. I told her that wasn't my problem as I am not responsible for him trying to muscle in on a family event he wasn't even invited to in the first place. I've offered to talk to him for her, to keep the peace, but she said I'd just end up being more of an to him than I am already for telling her that her new boyfriend's child can't come to my wedding. So Reddit. Am I the Best comments, NTA. You didn't have to tell her you don't like Kelly. It's enough that you're having a child-free wedding. It's not your problem he made this assumption. It's not your problem your sister didn't automatically correct him. Let her tell him. If he doesn't want a cone, so be it. If she decides to step down, let her. Do not give in for any keep the peace arguments. You will regret it. If you think he'll bring his daughter, make sure there's someone to turn them away from both the ceremony and reception. He may try the but she'll just eat from my plate trick. I'm actually wondering if the sister encouraged his assumptions and now doesn't want to back down. She acts like her newfound feelings are shared by the family community. So everyone should want to share her happiness at finding her Brandon. Sigh. Calm down sis. Good smex does not affect people standing next to you. You're the only one who feels watered after your drought. Story 3. AITA for not telling my GF about my scars. I 26 meters, have been with my GF 21F for 10 months. Ever since we first hooked up she has been very curious/obsessive about my scars. I have around 30 of them that cover my body. Anytime someone asks about them I come up with a funny joke to kind of make sure they know I'm not comfortable with telling them, i.e. I had sex with Catwoman and it's not as fun as you might think, and get them to move on. Lately she's been asking non-stop to the level of that I finally told her I had no intention of telling her for the foreseeable future and that she should stop asking. She got very upset saying I don't trust her or feel comfortable enough with her to be vulnerable and that it hurts her. I can understand that feeling but I have not told someone for 5 years and last time I did they used it against me. I told her I do trust her but it is true that I'm not comfortable enough yet to discuss that past trauma. AITA? Edit. I am trying to reply to every comment I can and I thank everyone that has taken the time to comment regardless of your opinion of me. If I haven't replied yet I will as soon as I can. Thank you again. Second edit, please refrain from insulting my GF, she is not an asshole and her curiosity is 100% justified. I am just trying to find the room and way to let her know what happened. Third edit, for context we have had conversations around this topic where I have tried to convey that I am not ready to talk and I've laid some groundwork for what happened without telling her anything detailed or specific. Fourth edit, I'm seeing a lot of these comments so I'll address them here. That she is entitled to know. Before commenting I'd really like for you to think hard if you've ever had a memory or something your past that you've not shared nor would ever share with your SO. I'd like to say that just because my memories are visible on my body doesn't not make anyone entitled to know or hear them. Best comments, NTA, a scar may show up as a healed wound on the outside, but that doesn't mean the inner trauma is something you're ready to talk about. You might never want to talk about it, and that's okay. She shouldn't push for vulnerability, if anything, she should let you know that her love is unconditional, that's what builds trust. Ops response, I teared up reading that a little. Thank you. No one's ever really reacted that way to them. They are long, deep, and ugly. Most people, guys, either say they are badass, they are not and I hate them, or they are constantly curious and won't leave it alone. I appreciate your words. Story 4. AITA for refusing to let my SIL babysit my baby and being unwilling to hear her out. My husband and I had to be somewhere for our older child so we asked my MIL if she could watch our 3-month-old son for a few hours. She said of course. Unfortunately when we went to drop him off, she wasn't home and one of my husband's sisters Jane, 21, was instead. Apparently my MIL wasn't going to be home for a bit so she, Jane, agreed to watch our son for some time. I immediately said no because well Jane believes that babies don't feel anything. She thinks that they cry for no reason and we shouldn't respond to their cries ever for whatever reason. And that not responding won't have any effect on them. She thinks that anything we do to babies during this period of their lives will have absolutely zero effect on them in the future. She will often call them mindless too. My husband called his mom and we politely explained our concerns and then hung up because we were extremely busy already, and now we had to find another babysitter as well. I figured that was it until Jane came over extremely upset and in tears insisting that she's not a bad person and that she would never do anything to hurt any kid. She then accused me of discriminating against her because she doesn't want / kids like everyone else in the family. I told her straight up that I don't give a crap if she wants kids of her own, but I don't like her thoughts on how to care for babies specifically. Instead of trying to understand me, she doubled down and said that her way of dealing with babies makes sense and that I'm wrong and I'm just extremely sensitive in nature so of course I don't get it. She kept arguing with me about how to take care of my baby so I just asked her to leave and she blew up on me. My husband even told her to calm down and that it's not like we're preventing her from seeing our kids all together, but she just went fuck you and your dumbass kids and left. Which? Okay? But my mill is really annoyed with me because Jane is still very upset and I'm just wondering if I'm the Like I don't think I'm, especially since no one lets her babysit for the same reasons, but I'm the first person to actually say no to her face and tell her why instead of making up an excuse. And perhaps I was too harsh. Best comments, NTA at all. You have told her why, she disagrees with how you are raising your child, so she cannot be alone with them. End of story. Different if she understood where you are coming from and agreed that she would of course do things your way, and then freaking out that you didn't trust her. She could be mad then. You would still be justified in the no, because you know how she feels, and alone, no one watching, she would test her theory. To Mill, I have a living being that cries to indicate that something is wrong. This is the only way they communicate they are unhappy. Your daughter thinks this is not true and their cries mean nothing. They should not be cared for when they are crying. The thought of my baby, in distress and being alone in that is not okay with me or your son. I am not being unreasonable. Her way of thinking is not only not the universal consensus, but completely not what I want in my child's world. I am a little shocked that you would defend her having a temper tantrum about this situation instead of telling her that of course we would not leave our child with anyone who could care less that they are crying and thinks they have no feelings. That is ridiculous. I need you on the baby's side, not on the one acting like a baby because she's wrong and doesn't like that she's wrong. Then let them be mad. This is truly ridiculous. For others to be involved and not be backing you up 100% is astonishing. NTA. How she feels about parenting only makes sense to her because it's based on incorrect information. Expert studies in child care, parenting, crying and coddling are done all over the world, peer-reviewed, and published in medical journals, and you will find that they do not support her claims. Anyone who thinks they're basing their shit on logic when they don't have a fundamental understanding of said thing can F right off. People like that form an opinion based on nothing, then work backwards to make up false information to support their conclusion. That's literally backwards thinking, and your SIL has it bad. It wouldn't surprise me if she had other contradictory opinions based on nothing and ignores all scientific process. If you guys like the story so far, drop a like, share and subscribe for more content like this. Now on to story 5. AITA for refusing to buy a bridesmaid's dress until I get closer to my goal weight? My 28F sister Bree 29F is getting married a year from now. Recently, she reached out to ask me to be a bridesmaid. I was surprised because Bree and I aren't super close, but I was happy to be a part of her special day. I used to be extremely overweight, and last year I decided to take control of my health and lost 75 pounds. I'm much happier and healthier than I was, but I'd still like to lose another 60. This became complicated when Bree sent us a link to the dress she wanted us to buy. I've never been a bridesmaid, but apparently it is common for brides to ask their bridesmaids to buy their own dress. Still, the dress she requested costed $300, which seemed pricey to me. Bree has asked us to order the dress within a couple of weeks, as it's popular and she's worried it will sell out. I called Bree and told her I am on a weight loss journey and am not buying clothes until I get closer to my goal weight unless they're from Goodwill or Walmart or something. Bree seemed really upset by this. She asked if I could just purchase the size I am now and have it be loose at the wedding. I told her I plan on being almost 60 pounds lighter by the wedding, so the dress won't be loose, it will literally fall off. Bree asked then if I could slow down my weight loss until after the wedding so the dress would fit. I told her absolutely not. I feel amazing and I'm already losing at a slow and steady pace. I presented Bree with 3 solutions. 1, I can wait to buy the dress until closer to the wedding, as I requested. 2, she can buy me the dress now with her money. Or 3, I drop out of the bridal party, since she probably has people she's closer with than me anyway. Bree did not seem keen on any of these options, even removing me from the bridal party. She told me I was ruining her big day and that it's about her, not me, so why does it matter if I wear a dress that's a little loose? I hung up after that to give Bree some time to cool off, but then I got a call from my mother telling me what a horrible sister I was and how selfish I was for not just ordering the bridesmaid's dress. She reiterated how it's Bree's day, not mine, and when I have my own wedding I can do things exactly how I want. To be truthful, I am finally starting to feel confident and to like how I look. Before I started losing weight, I wouldn't have cared if I wore a too loose dress because I was fat and ugly anyway. Now, even though I only buy dirt cheap clothes, I make sure to buy clothes that flatter me and accentuate my curves. I put a lot more effort into hair, makeup, and overall presentation. So yes, even though it is not my wedding, this will probably be the first formal event I go to after having lost weight, and I know lots of pictures will be taken. I want to look my best for these photos because I know I will look back on them and remember how hard I worked to get there. Does this make me a selfish ah? Best comments, AITA. You have two super reasonable and simple options. Buy the dress in your current size and take it in for the wedding, so it fits perfectly to your body. Easy. Buy the dress a couple sizes smaller so it'll fit what size you assume you'll be. Just make sure you stay on target with your weight loss so you fit into the dress. You're making this situation overly complicated. This is seriously so simple / it's like you're trying to be frustrated over it. As someone who works at a bridal shop, your sister is the sane one here. You're being a huge pain. As a quick side note, even if you waited and bought the dress in your current size once you're down 60 pounds, you still need alterations. Actual formal gowns will always need a hem, maybe a pinch on the top, etc. Not every size 6 has the same measurements, neither does every size 14. So you're going to have a foot in the door for alterations anyway, so it really isn't a big deal to have the dress pinched in where you need it. Taking a dress in 2 inches costs the same as taking a dress in 6 inches. NTA. As someone who does sewing and does alterations, it is not always possible to tailor a garment if sizing is too far off. An easy tailoring is 1 to 2 sizes. At 4 sizes or more it tends to be a whole remake of the garment. That can easily cost more than the cost of the dress. Plus, it still may not fit right depending on the curvature of the cuts. Pattern pieces for smaller sizes do not have the same curve / line as bigger pieces, and there may not be fabric in the place where needed to get the correct fit in the same style. Honestly, I think OP is making the correct call. The fact that the bride wants her to stop losing weight tells me that the bride is adamant about being the pretty sister in the photos. Even a bride who is on a weight loss journey is discouraged for ordering a dress a year in advance. Story 6 AITA for telling my husband he should have come see me in the hospital. My husband had just left for work and I was outside and ended up falling and breaking my ankle. It was very obviously broken, and the first thing I thought to do was call my husband to come back. He came back within minutes and called an ambulance. When the ambulance took me, he said bye and to let him know any updates, and he went to work. Him going to work at this point I understood, as he has his own business and it's only him and another guy, plus it's a broken ankle, nothing worse. He texted me an hour later saying call me when you get out, I'll pick you up, as if picking me up from work lol. I planned to keep him in the loop via text as much as I could, and I'll admit I was scared at one point because I didn't have pulses in my foot, so a bunch of people came into my room explaining they needed to reduce the fracture immediately. So they put me out while they did that. Thankfully a kind nurse held my hand until I was asleep lol. Once I was awake and back to baseline, I was in a hallway bed waiting for ortho, who eventually came to me and said I'll need surgery that night. I asked him to bring me some things but they wouldn't let him in. He tried but ended up leaving. Once I was in a room, it was late-ish, but I told him visiting hours are 24/7, come whenever or tomorrow. BC, we haven't heard about when they were to do the surgery yet. He said okay, he'll stop by tomorrow, but he has to go to the bank at 9:30, so he'll see when he can come pick me up. I never said anything about picking me up lol. Anyway, I said okay, I'll keep you updated. An hour later I text him I'm going into surgery. No answer. I text him when I'm awake after surgery. No answer. TBF, it's 1 a.m. lol. However, I later learned he did not have his phone on ringer and the surgeon tried calling him, and he didn't pick up. Fast forward the next day, he eventually picks me up in the early afternoon, and I learn he ended up not going to the bank or anything. He never came to the hospital to see me all morning or afternoon, only came to pick me up. Anyway, a week later I told him I was upset about him not being there or having his phone on. What if something in the surgery happened and she needed to reach him? He was sorry but didn't know it was a big deal. BC, no one came to see him when he was in the hospital, which was before we even met, like 15 years ago. I said that I'm his wife, he should have been there at some point for me. I was scared, I had to have surgery. Anyway, he seemed upset that I was so upset with him, which made me feel bad lol. AITA? Best comments, 1. NTA, not at all. Surgery is an anesthesia is always risky, especially if you're at the point where you're calling an ambulance for a broken ankle, or maybe you're just not American. Oop. He should have not only been there physically, but at the very least been a ring away as soon as he found out you would need it. And then to not follow up at all? Until 12 hours after? You're completely valid in feeling like he wasn't there for you. Hell, show him what I said, or put him in contact with me. I'll lay into him for you. Completely drop the ball as a spouse. 2. You are NTA. Do not feel bad. He really let you down. From your description it sounds like he considered your trip to the ER nothing more than another errand. The initial injury didn't seem serious, but once it did become more of an issue, and you had to stay overnight, a sign things are more serious. He should have been more attentive. And yet he makes you feel bad? I'm sorry, but you have a rotten husband. 3. NTA, I understand at first your injury did not present as something serious, but the minute surgery was involved. He should have been by your side. His reasoning for not doing it is also wrong, because you asked him to come, so there's that. Who cares what happened to him 15 years ago? You asked him to visit you during a difficult time at the hospital and he didn't. The phone being on silent mode is the cherry on top. Unreal. Has he no concern for your safety? Any kind of surgery that requires anesthesia is no joke. Let's hope it's a lesson learnt and he will be more attentive in the future, but make sure you talk to him about this, not caress his hurt ego. He was in the wrong here and should apologize and promise to do better in the future. Story 7. AITA for telling my dad he made his own mess and I'm not helping him with it? My dad is a fucked up mess. He and my mom were together for 7 years, high school sweethearts and everything, when mom found out she was pregnant with me. He says he freaked out and cheated on her because he was scared of being a father. But he regretted it after the 3rd time of sleeping with this other woman and thought he could leave it behind. He proposed to my mom and she accepted. Then when mom was 7 months pregnant with me, the other woman showed up and said dad got her pregnant. My mom called off the engagement. From that mess dad has me, 18 meters, and Stacy, 17F. The other woman wanted a relationship with dad but he said he only ever loved and wanted my mom. She was a mistake, baby was a mistake. Mom didn't want him back. Dad ended up with 50-50 custody of me and Stacy. Her mom tried for maybe 2 years it sounds like to get back with dad, even told my mom she was selfish for keeping dad from her. Then she gave up. Dad pined for mom for years and tried to win her back. It pissed Stacy off. Stacy was already pissed because her mom told her dad chose mom over them and me and mom over them. So she had a chip on her shoulder with me and my mom. When she was way too young to be saying crap, she was calling my mom degrading insults. My dad would get so mad when Stacy talked to mom that way and dad would tell mom he was sorry, he'd make it work, please, he only ever loved her, etc. This was going on when I was old enough to remember witnessing this pathetic mess. I was 11 when dad moved on and finally let mom go. He met a woman, married her and had Georgie, 6, with her. Stacy was furious that dad fell in love with someone else other than her mom, that instead of falling in love with her mom again he found someone after he let go of mom. After 11 years. So Stacy hates Georgie and she treats her like shit. Dad's wife died when Georgie was only 3 and Stacy has said some really twisted shit about her to Georgie. Also to me because I got along okay with my dad's late wife. I have mostly noped out of it all now. But I answer occasional calls from dad. He said he wanted to get the family together when we talked yesterday and that he wants us to be close. He needs my help. That we can't continue with the toxic mess. I told him he made his own mess and I'm not helping him with it. That he needs to take accountability and stop making it worse. Dad told me I should care about my sisters and how we'll never be close if this continues. I told him it was not my fault. AITA? Best comments. 1. NTA. It sounds like your dad and Stacy and maybe Stacy's mom, hey, need counseling or something. He shouldn't be expecting your help. I almost wanted to say no one's an asshole but his guilt tripping you is what tips it over the line. 2. Dicks are dangerous tools when placed in the wrong hands. Well, women, in this case. Bah dumb TSS, pardon the poorly timed joke, so not the asshole. NTA, up. I imagine you'll do well in life having had the blueprint of everything not to do so brilliantly laid out by your pops. I hope Stacy finds healing in her adult life along with her mom, who does not have it going on, and that your dad does right by Georgie. What a painful messy life he has led thus far. 3. NTA. How is a barely 18-yo boy going to be able to address his 17-yo's half-sister's misogyny and cruelty to a small child? Stacy is abusive. I'm not sure if closeness will ever be on the table with her, the best he can work towards is basic human decency. But it has to come from Stacy, forcing you all into proximity as the solution is still making other people responsible for her behavior. Like, I get that to some degree your dad is responsible for this mess, but at some point Stacy is also responsible for her behavior. She's a teenager about to be an adult treating a 6-year-old like shit. I am really worried for Georgie. Your dad can encourage and support that sibling relationship, if you're open, without Stacy. 4. NTA. Good for you. There is no fixing this mess. In spite of his many mistakes, Stacy's mother has created an angry, bitter, jealous daughter who has done nothing but create tension and animosity. Stacy's bitterness has been festering for the 17 years that she has listened to her mother insult and condemn you, your mother and Georgie's mom. She's not going to change her attitude now.